Hi everyone, and welcome to the Knit Shift episode 96. My name is Laura and today is Monday, October 30th, 2017. Thank you so much for joining me today, whether you have visited the Knit Shift before or if you just stumbled across this podcast on iTunes or YouTube or Ravelry or wherever it might exist on the web. Like I said, my name is Laura and I am a knitter. I am a journalist. I live in Northern Virginia with my boyfriend Josh and our dog Gracie, who is just out of frame, snoozing on the couch. Show notes can be found at theknitshift.com. This episode is available on iTunes and YouTube, and please subscribe if you haven't in either location. We do have a Ravelry group for the podcast. If you go to the groups tab on Ravelry and search for the Knit Shift, you will find us. We haven't had a knit along in a little while. I'm really hoping to start one perhaps in January, maybe even a year-long one. We haven't done one of those at the Knit Shift before. But we'll see. And we are going to have a giveaway for the 100th episode, which is coming up in a few weeks / a month, depending on my recording schedule. So stay tuned for details about that at the end of the episode. I am on Instagram as Laura Mahalski, and I am on Ravelry as Yarnstormer. I think that's it for the administrative stuff. I have so darn much to talk to you about today. It's unbelievable. If you haven't watched recently, I went to Rhinebeck last week. It was absolutely amazing. I get the Rhinebeck hype now, and I'll talk more about that later in the episode. I should be sharing 4 finished objects with you today, but one of them is in the wash, literally soaking in the bathtub right now, so that's a no-go. I have 3 finished objects and a half object to share with you. I have some works in progress, and I have a Rhinebeck recap, including lots of yarns. So let's get to it, because otherwise this episode will probably go on for hours and hours. My first FO is something that I finished a few days before Rhinebeck, and I am so excited to share this with you guys. This is my Vertices Unite shawl. It's a paid for pattern by Stephen West. I can't even get this whole thing in the camera. Let me back up. There's a rug at the edge of the chair here and I'm messing it all up. So it is a 5 yarn, it uses 5 different sock yarns, and this thing has a wingspan. I have this, my hands out as far as they can go, and you can see it's over here, all the way over here, and there's still some here. So this is enormous. Like I said, you use 5 sock yarns, and I will go through and tell you about all of them. The first section, and I have to say this is an amazing knit. It comes in 2 sizes. I knit the larger size. In this first section, this is a striping of 2 colorways. The solid gray is Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock in Snowfall, and Hedgehog Fibers Twist Sock in Minx is the speckled colorway. It was a club colorway about a year and a half ago when I was a 3-month member of the Twist Sock Club from Hedgehog. The next section is this purple and speckled, and the purple is Ba Yarns La Jolla in the colorway Garnet. It's called Garnet, but it really is a purple colorway. And the speckle is Lammy Toes Moon Pie Merino in the Rebel Girl colorway, and it's an amazing speckle. It's my favorite yarn in the whole thing. And it also exists in this standalone section. So there's this as well. So how gorgeous is that speckle? Amanda is such a talented dyer. And there's Gracie, because a dog and her human are walking by. And the final colorway is this one. This is Lemonade Shop in Pixie Sticks. And it's this lovely cream with rainbow speckles. I wanted an enormous shawl to wear at the office because my office is really cold, at least it was in the summertime. I'm hoping the opposite isn't true in winter because I hate to be too warm, but we'll see. We'll see how drafty it is. So I'm probably gonna keep this at my desk or wear it on the commute. I haven't decided. I have a shawl that I already have at my desk. I know it's kind of crazy colors and it's crazy to call it neutral, but this is kind of neutral for me, and I just felt like an enormous wrap to keep and wear, because I wear so many pattern dresses at my office, that this was like a nice compromise until I knit something solid. So it wraps around my neck 2 to 3 times. I have it around once with some really long ends, and then I'll kind of scoot this underneath and tie. Well, I won't tie it because I'm not going to keep this on, but you can see it's like this billowy, it's like a, looks like a neck brace practically, but it can drag over my shoulders, and I just think it's so pretty. So I'm really thrilled with how this turned out. I believe I used a size 7 needle on this, but I can't remember. It was my first time doing applied I-cord edging, and I have to say I really enjoyed it. I used the Lamy Toes Moon Pie Merino in Rebel Girl, and I just think it's so pretty. It's just the capper on this project. So that is my first finished object. I did not bring the leftover skeins over. They're kind of over on the coffee table over there. But I used a lot of the gray. I used at least half of every skein, I have to say, so it's a great stash buster if you are looking for something to use up a lot of sock yarn. You could go really wacky and use a ton of colors that don't really go together at all, or you could perhaps, you know, stay really neutral, do a bunch of browns, do a bunch of grays. I started neutral and then I kept adding speckles in, and the purple was gonna be the pop of color, so it ended up a little crazy, but in my mind, it's still pretty neutral because it's mostly gray and white. So I am so thrilled with how that turned out. My other two finished objects to show you are 2 pairs of socks. So let me put them on the blockers because for once I remembered to bring my sock blockers over. The first pair of socks I have to share with you are my Opal rainbow socks. These are a gift for a relative who is in need of a little rainbow sunshine in her life. I knit these one at a time, toe up. I used Judy's Magic Cast On, did an increase every other round on the toe, and then carried on up the foot. Did a fish lips kiss heel with contrasting yarn, and then I carried on up the leg and did quite a bit of 2x2 ribbing to give it a nice stretchy cuff. So they are almost perfectly matching stripe-wise, which I love. I did choose to do the contrast heel because I wanted to maintain the stripe pattern going up the leg, because this is such an iconic rainbow, I guess I would say, that I just wanted to preserve it going on up the foot. So I knit these on a size 1. I'm super thrilled with how these turn out. She cannot wait to receive them. I'm gonna put them in the mail in the next week or two, hopefully in the next day or two, honestly. I have a trip to the post office planned anyway, so yeah, so I love this yarn. This was Opal, let me look at the name of it. I think it's Opal Mine Garden or something like that. Mine Socken, one of the Opal lines, and it had a rainbow colorway and I loved it. I got this at a yarn store in Columbus, Ohio. So super thrilled with how these turned out. And now I will show you my other pair of socks that I finished this week. These are a pair of socks you have not even seen on the Knit Shift in months. You might have forgotten these existed because I basically did. I have not woven in the ends on these, but this is a pair of socks that I knit for me. These were going to be for my grandma. I started these, I think, this summer. This is Lane Cervinia Forever yarn. It's a kind of like a Regia knockoff, I feel like, because the price point is similar, and it comes in these 50 gram balls that are quite similar to Regia. It's a wool nylon blend. It's softer than Regia, but still quite hardy as a sock yarn, which I love. And I just thought this neutral stripe was such a beautiful colorway. So these were gonna be for my grandma, but she passed away almost 2 months ago. So I decided to change plans and make them for myself. The first sock, so I knit these are what I'm gonna call my Rhinebeck socks, because I knit 75% of these 2 socks at Rhinebeck or on the way to Rhinebeck. So when I left with my friends on Thursday, about 10 days ago, I was right about here on the first sock. And by the time we got to the house, I was beyond the heel and I was almost to the cuff. We drove from where we are, south of DC in Virginia, to north of New York City to Stottsburg, New York is where we were staying, close to Rhinebeck. So we had like 8 hours in the car off and on, you know, including lunch breaks and things like bathroom breaks and things like that. But I had a ton of knitting time, even with it taking a driving shift. So again, these are just my standard sock recipe. You know, nothing too fancy. Toe up, one at a time, fish lips kiss heel, carried on up the leg, and 2x2 ribbing. And then I started the second sock, I believe Thursday night of Rhinebeck weekend, as soon as I finished the first sock. And I want to say by Friday night, I had already turned the heel on the first sock. This was the only thing I knit on Thursday and Friday of Rhinebeck weekend. And Friday we just hung out at the house and knit all day. It was amazing. So once I finished the first ball of yarn, which was right around here with this orange stripe, I decided to start the second ball of yarn. I wanted to be more economical. Instead of just splitting the 2 balls and having 2 smaller balls of yarn left over, I decided to make these fraternal socks, not perfectly matching. So the first ball of yarn took this entire sock and up to about here. I believe it comes in like a 215 gram ball, and then I used about half of the other ball to finish sock number 2. As you can see, the ends aren't woven in, there's strings everywhere, but I'm really pleased with how these turned out. I believe I knit that on a 68 stitch count on size 1 needles, and I believe the rainbow socks are over 64 stitches on a size 1 because the opal yarn is just a little bit thicker. And that brings me to my half object to share with you, which, as you might imagine, is another sock. I've been just so sock crazy in the past couple weeks, you guys. So here is the first sock for my dad for Christmas. This is Langja wool on size 1 needles for my dad, who has very big feet. So the blocker ends here, but the sock keeps going. He has size 13 men's feet in the US, and pretty generous leg. I could have probably gone a little taller, but I was a little nervous about running out of room. So I really love how this yarn worked up. It's this gorgeous stripe with mottled gray and speckly burgundy and orange and blue and a little green and orange. So really love how this turned out. Not much to say about this. I have not cast on the mate because I just finished this about a day or so ago. And so the rest of the yarn is here with my carbons needles waiting to cast on. This is my first sock knit with carbons, and I really like them. They've got a great point. The join is good. I am a very big fan. So I'll be casting this on later today. That's my goal. And that brings me to other works in progress, which I have 2 to share with you. So I've really been loving my knitting mojo lately. I have not commuted on the train in almost 2 weeks since before my Rhinebeck trip, which I'll talk about later, about why I haven't been riding the train, but and driving instead. But I am knitting when I can, and that's a lot of time lately. So I cast on these socks. I brought this yarn and needles to Rhinebeck. I did not cast it on there in the end. I just wanted to stick with the projects I had on the needles, but I have started these since. And I am going to show you now. So this yarn is French Market Fibers, which is a dyer based in, I think, or inspired by New Orleans. And this is the colorway Midnight on the Moonwalk. Oh yeah, that looks great right there. It's this lovely tonal medium purple, kind of like a purple gray, a little darker than lavender. And I had plans for this in a shawl, I believe, and I had to frog it because some of the yarn was a little kinky when I started these socks, but I much prefer it in the socks. So I just have some toe cuppage going on, to quote, I believe, the yarn harlot who talked about toe cuppage. Or no, it was Wendy Johnson. I took a class from Wendy Johnson and she talked about toe cuppage. So this is what it looks like. And I'm knitting these 2 at a time on size 0 needles. So I'm not quite ready to start knitting the foot straight. I have a few more increases to go. I cast on 36 and I'm increasing every 3rd round to make it a nice, you know, wide toe cup. So not much to say about that. I'm keeping this in an Erin Lane bag that I got at SAF in 2015. So I'm really excited about these socks. I'm gonna set them aside. Once I increase to the point where I'm knitting the foot just in the round and round, I'm gonna set them aside and probably cast on the sock for my dad, the second sock. So yeah, that's it for my socks. And now I have a Christmas stocking to share with you. Like I said, this is a WIP like I said about the socks that were going to be for my grandma but are instead for me, this is a whip you haven't seen in probably 6 months, so prepare yourselves. I started this and promptly set it aside, I think, once life started to get tumultuous with my move from Norfolk to here, and I just picked it up in the past week and have made a bit of progress, so I thought it was time to share with you. I'm knitting this Christmas stocking for my niece, Olivia. This is an Annie's Woolens pattern, and it's the Evergreen Christmas stocking. She has a ton of Christmas stockings available. I'm sorry, she has a ton of Christmas stocking patterns available. So here is my progress. I charted out Olivia's name. It looks a little wonky, but I'm hoping blocking will fix it. And since you last saw, I mean, I don't even know where I was the last time you saw this, but in the past 2 weeks, I have knit basically from my finger down. Theoretically, I will duplicate stitch over the hearts in red. I'm a little nervous about that, never having done it, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I love this so much, and on the back, I put 2017 for the year she was born. And I'm super excited about it. I'm about to start the section that has a stitch pattern that will be carried down the foot. So basically, I'm kind of almost in the home stretch on this thing. I'm probably going to do a Fish Lips Kiss heel on this because the instructions as written provide instructions for an afterthought heel or a short row heel, and the short row heel is like, it's bonkers. It's like 3 pages long, and I don't have time for that. I think a Fish Lips Kiss heel will give me the same look that I'm trying to achieve as a short row heel, because in essence, a Fish Lips Kiss heel is a short row heel. And I'm knitting this out of 3 different colorways of Cascade 220. One is just a plain solid white. Sorry for the crinkling in the bag. White, a heathery green, and a lovely garnet red. So I just think this is so classic and perfect, and I can't wait to give this to my brother and sister-in-law for Christmas. And I think I'm knitting this on a size 8 needle, so it's a little big to allow for the extra breathing room needed for color work. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying it more than color work that I've tried in fingering weight yarn, I have to be honest. So maybe worsted weight color work is the way for me to go in the future. And I can't believe it, but that is all of my whips. I definitely have a lot of knitting mojo right now, and I'm really thrilled about it. So that brings us to yarns and basically talking about Rhinebeck. And at the very end of the episode, just a reminder, I will tell you about a giveaway I'm planning for the 100th episode of The Knit Shift. So I left for Rhinebeck a week ago Thursday. A friend of mine drove, and 3 of us accompanied her. It was a very nice drive. We got up really early. We left before the sun rose, and we got to our house in Stottsburg, New York by about 3:30. It was a beautiful, beautiful house. Someone else in our group had arranged it. There were 12 of us. Was it 12 of us? Yeah, there were 12 of us in our house, and it was just totally beautiful. It was on a lot of acreage. There was no one around. There were trees everywhere. There was a fire pit, which we never used because it didn't really get cold enough, but it was just the most beautiful home, and really, really enjoyed it. I think it was booked on VRBO, not Airbnb. So Friday we stayed at the house all day and we knit, and we had what they do every year. A lot of them have been going every year. We did a cheese dinner on Friday night, and we everyone contributed cheese and crackers, and there was meat, you know, salami and prosciutto and things like that. I contributed what my friend Elspeth calls cheese baby, which is not cheese in the traditional sense, but it is cream cheese wrapped up in crescent roll mix. You roll out the crescent roll, put some dill seasoning down, plop a block of cream cheese, sprinkle more dill seasoning on top, use 2 more triangles that, you know, are a rectangle of crescent roll mix, plop it on top, pinch the sides, sprinkle more dill on top, and then bake it in the oven at 350 for about 20 to 25 minutes till it's golden brown. and then you serve it with Triscuits or whatever crackers you have on hand. So it's delicious. There were 3 cheese babies throughout the weekend. We were not messing around. So that was my contribution, and I highly encourage you to make it if you're doing like a snacky dinner or party. It's a nice party treat. Shout out to my mom, who is the one who started making this when I was a kid. I don't know where she got it, but it's delicious. So yeah, so Friday night, a few of us went to Indie Untangled, which was kind of a trunk show, kind of a pre-Rhinebeck yarn shopping event held at a Best Western Conference Center in Kingston, New York. And we got there probably 15 minutes after it opened, and holy moly was this overrun. It was so crazy. 2 of us, myself and another gal, got out of the car, and the other 2 parked, I think, in a neighboring parking lot, like a 5 to 7 minute walk away. It was bonkers. And I want to say, oh, before I forget, thank you to everyone who said hello at Indie Untangled or at Rhinebeck. It was so nice of you to come say hello. I feel like an idiot because I didn't have my Knit Shift pins with me on Friday night like I had planned on. So I feel like I let you down, and I'm sorry. And anyway, also, I was a really bad podcaster. While I'm on the subject of atoning, I didn't film a thing at Rhinebeck or at Indie Untangled. First, Indie Untangled was just a madhouse. There was barely any room to walk around. I bought one thing and then I went outside. I didn't even try and walk through the whole place because it was so crazy and kind of overwhelming, to be honest. So I just sat outside and knit and enjoyed the fresh air, basically. So let me show you what I bought at Indie Untangled. First thing was this tote. And I actually bought this secondhand from my pal Esther, who I met this weekend and ended up being my roommate. She was lovely and fantastic, and she bought 4 totes, and I ended up buying 2 off of her. One for me and one for you guys for a giveaway. So I thought this was really cute. Look at these animals in their knitwear. It says Indie Untangled Rhinebeck Kickoff. I love this squirrel. That might be my favorite. And then it has some of the yarn companies, I believe, at the bottom, featuring Yarn Culture New York. So love this tote. It was my Rhinebeck bag, as it turns out in the end. And the one thing I bought at Indie Untangled was a skein of Woolenvine. I want to say I had a shopping list for Rhinebeck, and I am proud to say I knocked off everything on my shopping list. So one of the things I wanted to do was get a skein of multicolor sock yarn, perhaps from a dyer at Indie Untangled whose yarn I've never tried before. So that's what I did. Woolenvine's booth, like I said, we got there maybe 20 minutes after the event began, and her booth was picked over already. This was a one-of-a-kind colorway. This is her footsie base, which is 80/20 BFL nylon, and the colorway is 1,000 Nights, and it's a free swim, which I think means it's kind of a one-of-a-kind colorway. So it's this gorgeous purple and pink, and there's bits of orange. It's very Halloween-y. I'm not one for knitting Halloween socks, but if I were, this would be great for it. So I just think this was so pretty, kind of outside my comfort zone. I don't get a lot of multicolor purple, so really pleased that I picked this up. So we didn't stick around there long. We were all a little overwhelmed by it. And then we went home and had our cheese dinner, and then Saturday was Rhinebeck. And I didn't really know what to expect with Rhinebeck. You know, it was my first one. And I have to say, whatever my expectations were, it met them all and then some. I love what they have at Rhinebeck, perhaps more than Maryland Sheep and Wool. And I think here's why. It feels like a bigger event. It's more spread out, like there's more barns and more buildings where you can buy yarn. And it's a hilly landscape where the buildings are kind of nestled in, and it's just a more natural feeling environment versus Maryland, if that makes sense. A big plus for Rhinebeck is that the bathrooms are actual bathrooms and not porta potties, which I love. And I know Maryland has like one real bathroom, but it's always way too long of a line. Porta potties are where you end up having to go. So Rhinebeck had real bathrooms. Rhinebeck had way more food options. Not that I was trying to like try 30 things to eat, but they definitely had more food choices, which I appreciated. And it just felt like a more knitterly event, if that makes sense. I loved it. I definitely want to go back. I would love to go back with my friends who I went with and stayed with this time. I would love to go with my Nitty girls who from Virginia Beach and Nashville who I have gone to SAF with. I'd love to go with my mom if she came for the weekend. I want to go and have all of the fun with all of the people, basically. I want to have my cake and eat it too. So I really loved Rhinebeck and I definitely want to go back. Okay, that brings us to yarn shopping. So the first thing I bought was fiber. That was on my shopping list. Fox Hill Farm was a lovely booth. They raise a lot of Cormo and they had beautiful, beautiful Cormo yarn. It was pricey, but it was yarn they raised the sheep. Sorry about that, guys. Gracie saw another dog. So I bought Cormo fiber from Fox Hill Farms. 4 ounces. It's this lovely green with speckles, like shades of purple mixed in. It's really squishy. Pardon the plastic, but it's really squishy and lofty, and I'm excited to spin with this. My next purchase was something that was also on my list. I wanted to get yarn for a shawl, like a neutral shawl, and I went to Dirty Water Dye Works. I was really enamored with their booth and what they had to offer, and I got 2 skeins of this icy blue colorway called Cool Waters. This is the Lillian Luxe base. It's an 80/20 superwash merino silk, and it is 400 yards. So this is fingering weight, so I've got 800 yards here, and it's, the shine isn't really coming through, but it's really beautiful icy blue, and I just thought it would make a really lovely shawl for me. My only other purchase that day of yarn was yarn for another shawl. Miss Babs's booth was bonkers all day, but it did wane a little bit in the afternoon. So I went in around 4:30 before my friends and I left, and I came back with 3 skeins of this charcoal gray. This is this Hot Shot. This is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon in the colorway Catbird. And again, neutral shawl is what I was going for. This is 1,200 yards, so this could be a really beautiful, generous shawl. And on Saturday night, what did we do? I cannot even remember. I think we just went back to the house and basically passed out. We were all pretty tired. On Sunday, we went back before we all hit the road for home, and the other thing on my shopping list, 2 other things were on my shopping list, and one of them was the Miss Babs Rhinebeck colorway. I believe vendors are required to have stock out on, I'm sorry if you hear Gracie woofing by the door because she's sniffing through the crack in the door. This is probably squirrels outside. So I wanted the Rhinebeck colorway, and they were out of it on Saturday, and they have to hold back stock for Sunday. So I went there as soon as I could on Sunday. It wasn't the first thing. We didn't arrive right when the festival opened, but I got there probably 11 or 11:30, and they had about 6 skeins of the colorway left, and I'm so glad I got there when I did. So this is the Caroline base. This is 70% superwash merino, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon, and it's the Rhinebeck 2017 colorway. So how gorgeous is this? I love that. So it's a little crazier than I'm going for in my purchases lately, but I thought this would make a really cozy pair of socks because it is 20% cashmere. So that'll be fun. And the final yarn purchase was something on my list, and that thing on my list was an impulse purchase. I wanted to give myself permission to cut loose and get a treat that I might not have been thinking of, but was something I knew that I really wanted. So that's what I did. All weekend, the Primrose yarn booth was really, really busy. Her yarn was super popular, and with good reason, because it's a lot of really romantic, speckled, neutral, gorgeous, kind of feminine colorways, I would say. So, and when I finally got into her booth, I can see why people loved it, because it is really luscious yarn. Also, this was like a weekend of luxury bases for me, because I had this is the merino silk yarn. This is the merino cashmere nylon, and this is also merino cashmere nylon. This is DK weight, Marquess, yeah, it's not Marquis, it's Marquess. MCNDK, 80% superwash merino, 10% nylon, 10% cashmere. And it's 225 yards per skein. This is the colorway Snow Owl. So it's this lovely neutral white with a little hint of like dirtiness here. And this colorway is Rat-a-tat, and it's purples and golds, and I love this flash of orange speckles there. And there's some olive kind of green, olive dark brown in here. So I think this will be a 2-color DK weight shawl. Not sure which pattern. If you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them, but I think it would be really lovely and cozy. And that is it for my Rhinebeck purchases. I did buy some hand lotion and hand salve and things like that, but I won't share that this time because some of them are gifts from my mom, so I don't want to show them before because I know she'll see this. So and she knows about them, so I'm not spoiling it. In fact, she asked me to pick some stuff up. So yeah, Rhinebeck was amazing. I felt weirdly shy at Rhinebeck perhaps because I was in a house with a few people I didn't know. I also didn't know there was a podcaster meetup, which probably makes me a bad podcaster, but whatever. It was very overwhelming. Rhinebeck was definitely overwhelming, which isn't something I normally feel, but it was just crazy. There were so many people. It was so hot. It was exciting to be there. It was just all of these heightened emotions, but I really, really loved it. I really had an amazing time, and I'm dying to go back. We got back late Sunday night, and I woke up Monday with awful sciatic pain in my left leg, which is kind of similar to what I had in January when I injured my back. And I've been kind of miserable since Rhinebeck, to be honest, because my leg and my butt have been killing me. I had plans with Emily from the Fibertown podcast, who doesn't live too far from me. I had to cancel them. I have left the house only for work and for the doctor and for the pharmacy in the past week, basically. Yeah, exactly a week since I woke up last Monday and started feeling awful. And I did go get a massage to try and help, and that helped a little, but not a ton. But yeah, so I feel like I'm starting to be on the mend, and walking a little better and sleeping a little better. I've been sleeping a lot. I just haven't been feeling great. I don't know if it's just the post-Rhinebeck funk or the leg and all of the things, who knows. But anyway, I'm feeling much better today than I have been. I ran errands today, and I went to Costco after I went to the doctor, and went to CVS and went to the post office, which is more than I've done in a week. So I'm very grateful to be able to do that, because feeling like you can barely walk from one room to the next is no fun. So I'm glad I'm starting to feel on the mend. I think that's everything from me. Tomorrow is Halloween, so I hope you guys have a fantastic Halloween if you're celebrating. I will be dressing up and going to trivia night with my friends tomorrow, and if you follow my Instagram, you will know what I'm gonna be, so go check it out there is all I'm gonna say. Oh, the giveaway! I can't believe I forgot. So, like I said, I have a tote bag for you guys that's the same as mine, but hasn't been sitting on the ground dirty at Rhinebeck already like mine. So here's the shiny new tote bag for you guys from Indie Untangled. And I have a skein of yarn to give away, which is somewhere under my Rhinebeck mess. I have a skein of shelter, and I don't know where it went. It's around here somewhere, but I've got a skein of shelter, and I'll put photos in the thread on Ravelry. And I don't know what the prompt will be, but I would love it if you answer whatever the prompt is that I come up with, and I'll draw a number at random and give away the prize in episode 100. And if I find some other things to give away, you know, like I know I have some treats in my yarn storage, which is over on the other side of this little artwork here. My yarn's right over there. So I will hopefully have some other goodies to throw in besides the bag and a skein of shelter. It's a lovely mustardy, greeny, acid yellow colorway. It's really cool, and I thought it'd be a great gift since it's winter in the Northern Hemisphere right now, and you could make a really nice hat with it or something like that. So I guess that's it. Again, the details of that will be in the Ravelry group, so check it out. Take care, you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.